Before Trump won the election, Democrats were clear-eyed about the stakes.
It's time that fascism is called fascism, and Americans know exactly what they're voting for.
He is paving the way to become a Vladimir Putin.
If you think that framing is not that interesting, wait till you hear that this record-breaking young phenom from New Jersey is 38 years old!
Oh, you're not ready for this one? The loudest liberal in late night is throwing shade so hard, the Democratic Party might need therapy. According to him, the left didn't just lose, they face-planted into a pile of their own arrogance. And why? Because common sense was banned like a dangerous idea. This roast is hotter than a California wildfire, and the blame game is about to get savage. So buckle up, because once this firestorm starts, there's no turning back. And if you think political meltdowns are entertaining, stick around. This channel serves them up fresh every single time. Long before Trump even touched the White House doorknob, the Democrats and their obedient media lapdogs were in full-blown hysteria mode. They weren't just nervous, they were practically staging the end of the world. According to their doomsday prophecies, electing Trump meant unleashing a tyrant straight out of a dictator starter pack. They didn't hold back. Putin comparisons flew like confetti. And yes, they even dropped the Hitler card like it was Casual Friday. They swore up and down that democracy would be toast, and America would crumble into dust the second he took office.
He is a threat to democracy.
The destruction could be unthinkable, the damage may be irreversible, and it would be a betrayal of everything that our framers fought for.
We did flip 3 House seats from Republican to Democrat and gain back almost all of those that we had lost in 2022.
Almost is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Media screamed dictatorship, cable news hosts were practically foaming at the mouth, and Hollywood elites acted like the Constitution had already gone up in flames. They cried wolf so loud you'd think the world was ending. But guess what? The sky never fell. What actually happened? A political reckoning so savage, it rattled the smug little echo chambers of DC and Tinseltown. Trump didn't break America. He broke their illusions. The mainstream narrative? Obliterated. The media bias? Ripped wide open. And that fringe minority they mocked? Turns out it was a ticking time bomb called the silent majority. And Jon Stewart? He came in swinging, dragging Schumer's cluelessness through the mud. Why does Chuck Schumer glance up like he's searching for divine approval every time he stretches the truth? Because the body always snitches when the mouth's lying. It's textbook deception. Look away, dodge the truth. Hope no one notices. But America noticed. The nonstop smear campaign against Trump, it didn't just flop. It detonated in their faces. Voters saw through the panic, the propaganda, the desperate theatrics, and they answered at the ballot box with a deafening rejection of the fear machine. And Jon Stewart? He didn't pull punches. He came out swinging like a hitman with a mic, dismantling Democrat delusion one brutal joke at a time. He torched their contradictions, dragged their failures into the spotlight, and proved once again, no amount of scripted spin can bury a movement that's fed up and fired up. When the dust finally settled and Trump emerged victorious, the Democrats went into full panic mode, scrambling, spinning, and clinging to anything that resembled a lifeline. Their golden ticket? Kamala Harris. They pitched her as the future, the force that would reclaim control. But that fantasy imploded fast. Her approval tanked, her gaffes piled up, and the base wasn't buying what the party was selling. With no real wins to parade, they pivoted hard, pretending breadcrumbs were banquets. Every minor policy tweak was hyped like a historic revolution. Suddenly, symbolism replaced substance, and hollow media buzz became the new strategy. The same party that once promised to shake the system was now patting itself on the back for participation trophies. And then came Dan Goldman, confidently claiming they'd clawed back almost every seat lost in 2022. Hilarious, delusional. Enter Jon Stewart, ready with the flamethrower. He ripped into the spin with brutal precision, exposing just how desperate and disconnected these people have become. I wouldn't trade places with the Democrats or the woke left for anything right now. Watching them scramble to conjure up hope after swaggering into the election like victory was guaranteed? It's political theater at its most pathetic. They were convinced, absolutely certain, that they dragged Trump's name through the mud so thoroughly that voting for him would be unthinkable. But reality slapped that fantasy straight into the ground. Now they're flailing, grasping for explanations that get more laughable by the day. Every press conference is a masterclass in denial. One minute it's Russian bots, the next it's shadowy voter suppression, and sometimes they just blame the stars. Anything to avoid the uncomfortable truth, the American people weren't fooled. They saw through the drama, the noise, the moral grandstanding, and they rejected it. Hard. Yep, the Democrats are stuck with this loss, and no amount of media spin or emotional appeals is going to erase it. 4 long years of sitting in the wreckage of their own failed strategy. But what's truly disturbing isn't the defeat. It's the fact they've learned absolutely nothing from it. No reset, no reflection, just the same old woke playbook that already sent voters running for the exits. And now, the rumor mill's heating up with talk of a Sanders AOC ticket, a pairing that's got moderates sweating bullets, not cheering. It's political cosplay at best. Sure, they can pack a stadium with applause lines and activist slogans, but we've seen this movie before. Remember Kamala, the media darling who couldn't carry that love past Election Day? Crowds don't equal votes, performances don't replace policy, and speeches don't hide the absence of real leadership. Now let's take a look at the so-called wins they're parading around like trophies. Even the folks standing behind the podium couldn't fake it. You could see it in their faces. Bored, checked out, counting the seconds until it was over. Their stiff claps and dead-eyed stares made one thing painfully clear. No one was buying the performance. The speaker droned on about a historic group of freshman lawmakers, but the crowd looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. It was the political equivalent of clapping at a bad school play. Forced, awkward, and totally empty. Sure, the diversity box was checked, but where was the substance? Where was the achievement? When the hype runs out and there's nothing real to celebrate, even the most loyal foot soldiers stop pretending. That limp applause and stone-cold silence, louder than any speech. But hey, let's move on to the next batch of names they're parading around like victory banners. Now this is where it gets good. Stewart's reaction is pure gold. He leans in with that wide-eyed disbelief, playing it up like he's just been hit with breaking news, even though you know he's been waiting to pounce. The over-the-top facial expressions, the perfectly timed pauses. It's all part of the setup. And then he strikes. Watching him tear her talking points to shreds with that razor-sharp sarcasm is both hilarious and savage. It's not just comedy. It's a takedown in slow motion. Line by line, he exposes the nonsense, flips it on its head, and serves it back with a smirk. This is why Stewart still owns the space, because when the spin gets thick, he cuts through it like a scalpel. And that right there is classic Democrat playbook. Take something small, pump it full of hot air, and parade it around like it's the next moon landing. Exaggeration isn't just a habit, it's a strategy. They inflate every headline, dramatize every moment, and pray the audience doesn't notice the smoke and mirrors. So the moment they landed the youngest person in Congress, boom, cue the overhype. Suddenly, this wasn't just a new rep, it was the future of the Republic, the prodigy who'd reshape America. The media fawned, the sound bites rolled out like confetti, and the party acted like they'd discovered political gold. But scratch the surface, nothing there. All optics, no depth. Once again, they sold the sizzle without the steak, and the American people weren't fooled. While the Democrats were busy high-fiving themselves over another round of empty, performative wins, President Biden was deep in the Amazon rainforest. No, seriously, thousands of miles from home, wandering through the jungle while the country burns. Why was he there? Climate photo op? Foreign policy fluff? Or just another attempt to vanish from the chaos he helped create? Your guess is as good as anyone's. But in classic Biden fashion, the trip didn't end without a signature stumble. Maybe he wandered away from his detail again. Maybe he slurred through a statement. Or maybe, just maybe, he forgot where he even was. At this point, it's hard to tell if we're watching the leader of the free world or a guy who accidentally joined the wrong tour group. Meanwhile, real crises pile up back home, and America gets fed sound bites of a president looking dazed in the jungle, lost in the leaves, lost in the polls, and somehow the media still insists it's all going according to plan. Just like clockwork, President Biden did exactly what everyone feared. He wandered aimlessly into the Amazon rainforest like a man out for a stroll with no idea where he was going. It was bizarre, unsettling, but sadly, not even shocking anymore. And yet, the spin machine kept churning, insisting, without a hint of irony, that this is Biden at his best. His best? If that was peak performance, we should all be terrified. They tried to repackage him like a brand new product, polished, confident, sharp as ever. But the facade cracked fast. You can't hide confusion behind a podium forever. The only reason the truth hasn't been buried 6 feet under is because Americans are paying attention. Commentators, independent journalists, regular citizens refusing to swallow the narrative. Because if the media had their way, Biden would be treated like a sage prophet communing with nature, while the footage of him looking lost in the jungle would vanish into the memory hole. But reality doesn't care about press releases. The cameras were rolling, the people were watching, and no glossy headline can erase what we all saw. A president struggling, live and in living color. In the end, the Democrats went all in on smoke and mirrors. Again, they hyped Kamala Harris like she was a game changer, only for the public to realize she was all polish and no punch. Then they propped up the youngest member of Congress like some political prodigy, expecting applause for age and identity instead of action. It was all theater. No plot, no payoff. Jon Stewart didn't just laugh, he dismantled the act. With every cutting remark, he exposed just how hollow the spectacle really was. He didn't have to reach far. The absurdity was baked into every press conference, every headline, every smug celebration of symbolic wins. And the voters, they weren't fooled. They saw through the curated optics and recycled fear tactics, and they made their voices heard. Trump didn't just sneak back into office. He bulldozed his way in while the left stood there clutching their playbook from 2016 like it still had magic in it. It didn't. The same tired tactics, identity baiting, media spin, and endless outrage fell flat. The country didn't buy the performance. They wanted change. They wanted truth. And all they got from the left was another round of polished nothing. Now, if the Democrats want to survive this political freefall, they'll need more than slogans. They'll need guts, accountability, and maybe for once, humility. Because the American people are done with the circus. They want leaders, not influencers. And that's a wrap for today's video. If you're tired of the noise and ready for the facts, hit that like button and subscribe. There's a lot more fire coming your way. See you next time.